So now we're gonna start another topic uh, to jump into the teachings of Mahavir and Jainism by itself. We cannot go any further on any discussion in Jainism unless we talk about Namokar mantra. That is the first and the foremost representative of a Jainism. We chant every day, we chant every session, but we're gonna try to understand the meaning of the Namokar mantra. Mantras, every religion has at least one most popular mantra, and mantra is something that should resonate through all your koshas. We have 5 koshas. Annamaya kosha, that's our body, which is supported by the food, and itself will become food from other organisms. So we're living in the world of food. And then there is pranamaya kosha, which is the full of the prana, the energy that circulates and distributes and makes us function. And then there is manomaya kosha, where the thoughts, the ideas, all these things function, that controls the food sheath and the body sheath and the prana kosh, right? And then there is vijnanmaya kosh, which is the intellect, which decides right from wrong. And then beyond that is the bliss sheath. So the mantras have their value only if they resonate through all 5 sheaths. Whether it does or not, whether it resonates through 5 sheaths or not, is only possible for you to understand only if you have realized those sheaths. If without the realization of those sheaths, these mantras will have only superficial value. I had been chanting Namokar mantra for so many decades just because I was told I am a Jain. I didn't even know the meaning. Forget about the resonating through all the sheaths. But just chanting becomes a chanting. My mind may be somewhere else, but chanting goes on. Every night I did it for so many years. I don't know what it did for me. But, but now I am trying to realize that mantras are not more than its face value. So before we jump into the vast teachings of Mahavir, we should clear out certain things, that everything about a true religion should be taken at its, not just the face value, but its real value, which is the depth. Until we realize at the depth value, we're gonna be just doing a kiddie pool and then walk away. We are not gonna learn anything, and we'll have a total waste of time. You know, same time we could have gone to Action Park and have some game rides and go home, and that's it. So Namokar mantra starts with, says, Namo Arihantanam. I bow down to Arihant. Namo Siddhanam. I bow down to Siddha. Namo Ayaryanam. I bow down to Acharyas. Namo Uvajayanam. I bow down to Upadhyayas. Namo Love Savva Sahunam. I bow down to all the sadhus in all the lokas. Eso Panch Namokaro. These 5 naman, bowing downs, Savva Pava Panasana, destroys all your sins. Mangalam cha Savvesing, amongst all that is auspicious, all that is Mangal. Padam Havai Mangalam. Namokar mantra is the most Mangal. They do not claim for no reason. Once we understand every single step, you also will agree that this is the most Mangal mantra you can chant in your life. So my namaskar goes to Arihant, Siddhas, Acharyas, Upadhyayas, all the sadhus in all the worlds, and this namaskar will destroy all my sins, because this is the most Mangal mantra. So after little bit of understanding that mantra cannot be taken at its face value, but in its real depth, then only the meaning starts happening. Out of all the sutras, all the mantras, Navkar mantra is the most mangam. Just like Mahavir is one of the topmost enlightened persons you can come across. You can count in with fingers, few people. He's one of the most. He's like the glistening peaks of Himalayas. We can bow down to him, but we cannot touch him. He's so far. He's so far away from us because we are doing our routine stuff, buying and selling and cheating and whatever, the greed and hatred, and we keep playing our games of life, and he seems so far above all of us. So we can see the peaks, but the path is gone. We don't know how he reached there. Without the path, you cannot reach to the peak. So, as it is important to reach to the peak, it is more important to walk on the path. Without walking on the path, no one is going to reach the peak. We'll keep talking about it, just like a lot of Jainas do, that our God was like this and our God was like this and he was like this and he was like that, and all that remains a talk. Nobody is ready to walk on the path. It's almost like a river wants to take a plunge into the big abyss of the ocean. It thinks what is going to happen to it. Once the river merges with the ocean, its identity is going to be gone. Nobody is going to see where the Ganges is, or Godavari is, or whatever Amazon is, or Mississippi is. You can't find them. They're losing their identity. So far from the time that it started, from the peaks of the mountains, different names were given, people were worshipping it, it had an identity, it had its own look, it had its own presence, and a lot of people depended on her. All those things were going to be gone. Now people are going to worship the ocean. What is going to happen to the river itself? So, to take a big jump into all these things, we have to realize that there is only one way to reach to the peak, only by walking on the path. If all these principles, when I say Namo Arihantanam, Namaskar, Namaskar is not for Arihant. Namaskar is for you, whether you have the bhav of Namaskar or not. You may be physically bending down, but your ego is standing up. You have no Namaskar. Without having Namaskar in your heart, whether there is Arihant in front of you or not doesn't matter. So one thing we have to realize, real death has to come.
Arihant means God.
Arihant, in Jainism, there is no God. On purpose, Mahavir did not accept the existence of God. Because God, and that's a lot of mistakes has been created, although all religions mean the same thing, is that formless, infinite consciousness, Nirgun, Nirakar, but by calling it a God, it creates an entity that is responsible for creation, that is responsible for taking care of you and me. It becomes an entity to go and ask for daughter's wedding, proper goes, that I win a lottery, and all these ridiculous things have been asked for. And that Mahavir recognized that people will get lost. So under the Jainism, God does not exist. But that does not mean godliness does not exist. Godliness is there. There is a phenomenon called godliness exists. Is that an infinite consciousness? And we all have to merge into that. So Arihants are not gods. Arihants are the one who have transcended their senses. They are beyond all the senses. And along with the senses, all their karmas are drowned completely in the piety, in the purity of this consciousness. All your sins, all your sufferings. Don't think Mahavir is any better than you and me. He has gone through everything that we are going through right now is just different time sequence. But then again, in enlightened states, where is time? So he's no different than you and me. But he has done it and we have not done. So we are suffering from so-called suffering, from so-called karmas, from so-called past. Until we transcend all these things, we're going to suffer. And he has gone beyond the suffering because he has gone beyond the senses. What is the purpose of senses? To ask for things, to indulge and to expect something that will make your senses happy, whether it is touch or a smell or hearing or whatever, right? So we are living for the senses, and to indulge in the senses we need sansar. So we keep on going, running after the sansar to ask for more and more things, and when the sansar does not give, we bring the God in front of us and ask from him. We haven't changed. We have made a God as a piece of something like a Kamdhenu that will give us anything we want. We haven't changed. We are still in sansar. So Arihant is someone who has transcended all the senses. He has realized there is nothing to gain from anywhere. You are self-sufficient. You are complete. There is no need to ask for anything from anyone. And in fact, no one can give you, even if you ask. If that realization happens, then your progress towards spirituality starts. Wife cannot be 100% what a husband wants them to be, and vice versa. Husband cannot be 100% of what a wife wants him to be. There are inadequacies in this sansar. Everyone can throw glimpse of happiness to each other here and there, but because they are finite, their given happiness is also going to be finite, and you're going to have only finite experiences. If you want to live with those finite experiences, fine. You will never realize the love of infinite. And that's what Arihants had experienced. And that's why we bow down to.
So Arihant is an entity, or just an understanding.
We'll come to that.
Tirthankars?
Tirthankars. All Tirthankars were Arihants. But when that happens, they become Shunya. We give them names because out of our limited knowledge, Mahavir, even at that level, Mahavir is not Mahavir anymore. He becomes Shunya. He merges with that consciousness, as if almost like a destination where the traveler disappears, journey disappears, and only destination stays. And that destination is formless consciousness, with all its power, with all its purity, with all its divinity, with so much power, it can absorb all of us and multiply millions of times in its totality and yet not get affected. That's how much power that consciousness has. Only if you have patience to understand the intricate workings of your mind, you can little by little drop your vrittis and vasanas. You don't have to give up anything. You just have to realize the flimsiness of all those efforts. Then you see the infinite vast ocean of consciousness. So destination is only that will remain. And yes, there is a lot to lose on the path of spirituality, but you will be happy to lose it. You will be willingly give up because you're getting a lot. And what you're getting, no one else has it yet, or has them. You can't tell. You cannot tell if the next guy, the guy who is sitting next to you, whether he's enlightened or not. But it's none of your concern anymore. Your concern is what you are inside. So path is very important. Even though you know the destination, even you see the peak, but if you don't have the path, you are fumbled. We did hiking in Sedona. We went on Cathedral Rock. It's a vertical ascent, 700 feet, and nothing but rocks. There is nothing there to hold on to if you fall. And few of us, we made it. And then we enjoyed it so much. And it was one of the vortexes. There are 4 vortexes in Sedona. That's what people go there for vortexes. This vortex is where the energy is churning around. And either it can lift you up or it can keep you down to the ground or whatever. But it's again a thing of experience. So we got so carried away in doing our spiritual stuff, and we didn't realize it became dark. And before we knew, everybody had left. And there were a couple of girls and then our yoga group. And we didn't know, we lost the track. The track was very loosely done. So we were going by the memory of where we should end up. And we kept looking around. It was just getting darker and darker. And we had some flashlights, but that still does not show the path. Now we had like less than half a mile to go. But that half a mile was nothing but torture. We didn't know where we were going. The good thing is, and you all should remember, is that our rental car was the only car left in the parking lot was white. So we could see that from distance in all that darkness. If our rental car was black, forget it. We had no sense of direction. And we could have gone for miles and ended up in the jaws of bobcats or something like that. So we kept faith and kept on going as long as we could see the white man. So we ended up about 300 feet away from the entrance of the trail. But with a few scratches and bruises and all those things, people complaining, everybody reached intact. So the path is very important. Without the path, we cannot reach the destination. So, but the Namokar mantra claims that Eso Panch Namokaro Savva Pava Panasano. This mantra will destroy all your sins. How does it happen? Just by chanting this mantra? Do you think a thief or a robber or a murderer will be set free without the sins? It sounds a little too offbeat. It sounds kind of illogical for a mantra to claim that. But mantra cannot be without its explanation either. Like we said earlier, mantra resonates through all your 5 koshas. And each kosha is bigger than the first. The Annamaya kosha is what your body is, what you see. But Pranamaya kosha, actually your electromagnetic force that goes outside. That's how we check our EKGs. EKGs are recordings of our energies coming out of the heart. It's going beyond our body. Our aura that's around us is the Pranamaya kosha. And then of course all koshas keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the bliss seed is all over. We merge with the consciousness. So all this realization that all the sheets that we have, if we hold on to the bhav of Naman, that not just me as a Shrenik or a Chirag or Shanoy or Hinaben, they are not bowing. All 5 sheets are bowing at the same time with a full appreciation, with full dedication and full devotion. Can you imagine that state of mind or state of being, I should say, and try to commit a sin? Literally, the resonance of this mantra with a total bhav where you synchronize with Mahavir, it makes you protective. At that level, you will not even want to commit any sin. That's how it eliminates all the sins. But the 99.99 cooperation has to come from you. 0.001 is Mahavir. Mahavir just becomes a possibility that what he did is possible within us. It is possible for us to be in a non-violence mode, non-stealing mode, total surrender, total karuna, total all this mode 24/7 is possible only because Mahavir happened. And that's his biggest gift to this world. only if we take time to understand all these things. So we're gonna conclude it today, and then we'll take this from there. All
If
right.
you don't mind, can you explain the mantra one more time? If you don't mind.
I'll text you.
Okay.
No, I'll explain. Sorry.
No, I was going to tell, but I said if everybody wants to listen.
All right. So Arihant are the one who has transcended all the senses. I bow down to Arihant. And lot of explanation are gonna come. This is not. You can shut up, right?
No.
Oh, okay. It's been shut up. So the thing is that we think that this is put in a hierarchical fashion. That means the Arihant is bigger than Siddha. Siddha is bigger than Acharya. It's not like that. Lot of logical explanation will come later in the next class, but I'll just give you literal explanation. Is Namo Arihant means I bow down to Arihant. Namo Siddhanam, all the Siddha who have achieved the Siddhis, I bow down to them. Namo Ayaryanam is the Acharyas who do the teachings, I bow down to them. Namo Uvajjayanam, all the Upadhyayas, which actually Acharyas are the one who act their thoughts. Uvajjayanam means Upadhyaya who actually gives the teachings in a verbal communication. And I bow down to all the sadhus of the world. That means Namo Lobe Savva Sahunam. And Eso Pancha Namaskaro means these 5 bowing downs. What it will do is Savva Pava Panasme, remove all the paps from your life. And that is why Mangalancha Savvesing, amongst all that is auspicious, Paramam Havai Mangalam. This Naukar mantra is the best.
Sadhu means not the sadhus, right? What we
No,
say.
it's more than that.
Yeah.
So, right.
Sadhu means like gentleman, good, like a sajjan.
Who has all these 5
Sattva.
senses are
Yeah,
gone.
One who is totally living sattvic.
Yeah.
Sattvic ahar, sattvic vichar, sattvic acharan is sadhus. All right, so much for today.